welcome everybody to the end of 2020 edition of the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer, and hope everybody had a good Christmas. George, you had a good one?
Oh, I had a great Christmas, a lot better than we could have, just Sue and I by ourselves, but we snuck in some time with our grandson, and we're coming back here. We're kind of hunkered down right now for a few days, but it was worth it. I hadn't seen this little one for 4 or 5 months, and that affects an old guy after a while. So
it does start to affect us medium old guys as well. But I did get to spend some time with the grandkids as well on Christmas Day, so felt fortunate to be able to do that. And the other two,
we are fortunate.
The other two I got to say hi to from a distance, give them a wave and whatever else. So it was a different type of Christmas, but we made her through. We'll still celebrate somewhere down the road, hopefully sooner rather than later. And so where should we start? Oh, there.
Boy, you give me a spot.
Folks, I've got a piece of paper that I got notes scribbled sideways on, because since we talked the last time, what was that on the? What did we do it on? Like the 17th?
Yeah.
We've been gone for 13 days. My goodness, the world basically came apart sports-wise. Let's start with Gopher basketball. Let's start on a good note. Let's.
Hey, just a second. I just happen to have a couple of things to that end. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, what a Christmas present. The number 4 team in the country with this gargantuan center that looks, a little bit like Paul Bunyan. And, and he's been bouncing people all the time. And you think, oh, here it comes. Bumpa-da-bumpa-da-bumpa. There we have Liam Robbins that comes in a little bit here, a little bit there. You see the guys double teaming him on defense. They played terrific defense that game. And, and they held him, to 20 points. And that's considered an upset.
Oh, that was a huge upset. The thing that I will contend, and I don't know if I've got to say this a whole bunch while Richard Pitino has been the head coach, but Richard Pitino outcoached Fran McCaffrey.
He did, especially in overtime.
Well, we got very fortunate in overtime that Brandon Johnson, who I couldn't have recognized in a lineup of basketball players for the Gophers, I couldn't probably put his name in the right place.
He hit 8 of 9 shots, 8 of 9 threes.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. What I loved about what Pitino did was in the first half, he absolutely frustrated Garza.
He did.
He didn't like getting double teamed.
He did
immediately. That's not a tactic that every basketball coach will employ. And be able to employ it well, I guess, is maybe the bigger thing.
Well, the word has it that Richard took a little note from his father on double teaming, and then he says it won't work, and he says it worked for the Shack. It worked for a number of other people. So you can double down if you have quick enough, tall enough forwards. Hey, it's frustrating to have all those hands in there.
Yeah, I think you got to do something to rattle the cage. And you can have a plan. I guess I'll go back to the 2000 Broncos when they played against Moose Lake Willow River, and they had Brian Jamrose. And they basically came up with the Jamrose rules. There was the Jordan rules. There was the Jamrose rules. And they put in a game plan where they had essentially 10 different defenses to try to confuse Jamrose, to try to get him to think that, well, it's man or it's zone or how we're playing it. And so those things came to be, but I really thought the Gophers played an outstanding first half. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well in the first half, but their defense was so darn good.
The defense held them in the game, and and actually it really kind of took apart Michigan State as well. They really didn't have an answer for Robbins.
Yeah, I'll ask you this question as long as you brought up Michigan State. Was it the Gopher defense, or was Michigan State just that god-awful shooting the basketball?
They do not have the talent that they've had in years past. I have to say that.
Yeah, I just
and I could see it, in the coach's eyes. He's hurting over there. Now, you know what this happens? And I mean, Coach K, here it is. We have Michigan State, we have Kentucky, we have Duke. Neither one of them have done Bo Diddley, that means all these millionaire coaches, you know what they got to do? Coach basketball.
They got to
I mean-
recruit. They got to recruit better.
They got to recruit better.
Well, and I mean that's what college basketball is all about. But I got to go back to Iowa again. Iowa made a run at the Gophers early in the second half, and the Gopher lead dissipated. And
It
actually,
did.
the Gophers were behind by, I don't remember
6-7.
6-7 biggest
Yeah.
lead was. And I thought for sure at that point the Gophers would absolutely crumble like a house of cards.
I was waiting for it.
And they stuck in there, they hung in there, and they got it to overtime. And then, as we mentioned, Brandon Johnson just he'll never shoot the basketball like that again in his dreams. Even he
Oh,
won't make 8
that's
out of 9.
word for word. That's word for word what the guru was telling me this afternoon.
Okay.
Says it was beautiful. He'll probably never do it again.
Well,
but
who
beautiful.
would? Who will shoot 8 out of 9 in a Big Ten basketball game?
Against a top 4 team.
Yeah, and he's not considered a shooter. I mean, come
Well,
on. So
No, but I'll tell you, they have such a terrific bench that there's all kinds of people on that bench that can hurt you. Mashburn can hurt you. And a lot of those guys, they can come off, they can really kind of drill you, and Johnson kind of fits that mold. This is the first time being Gophers. They'll pick it up.
you can look at Mashburn and still see that he's still trying to force things. He's trying to make the game come to him rather than what
Yeah.
I'm saying. He's trying to force sometimes some things. He'll get better. He'll get a better feel for that.
And Booth Gosh will too.
Booth is struggling. Oof, the man.
He is right now.
Him
But
and
he's always-
Kelscher gotta understand. And I think I really watched Kelscher the other night against Michigan State on the
He had a
defensive
great
end of the
game.
floor. He had a big game on the defensive end of the floor, and he just that's why he's still playing. That's why he's shooting 19% from 3-point line, and he's still on the floor for 30.
My question to you would be, who would you replace him with? Defensively,
They do have guys that can replace him shooting the ball, but but they can't replace his defense. I don't think.
and you can tell his head's in the game all the time that he's out there. He's I'll tell you, I'll tell you right now, he is he's got 289 minutes, and that's almost as much as Marcus Carr has 356, but he has more than both Gosh and Robbins. So he's the second leading man on the court.
So what do you think about Mirza leaving the team?
Well, I saw that he did it, and I suppose what's happening is right now there's 10 people that can play basketball in the Big Ten that's on that team. And if Pitino's a great coach, he knows that he has them and he's using them. And, he was probably just taking a look and saying, there's a lot of deep people around here. It's time to go somewhere else.
Well, yeah, and is he going to leave and maybe try to go to another Division I school, or is he going to leave and try to go play Division II? What are his options? I like the kid enough. He had a tough time staying out of foul trouble at times.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing was he could see the writing on the wall that his minutes, he thought he had paid his dues and should get a bigger chance, a bigger cut of the pie, and it's not there. I look at Eric Curry. If anybody's paid his dues, there's Eric Curry. Coach Pitino gave him a chance early on in the season to do that, to show what he could do, and he showed that he couldn't do enough of it. But we brought up Liam Robbins before, and man, what a game he had against Michigan State the other night. My goodness.
Well, yeah, you and I talked this over, and we weren't sure that he can handle the physicality of the Big Ten, and he is doing just fine. And he's got those incredible long arms.
Yeah.
I could see why he's the leading shot blocker in the country. So, and I'll tell you one thing about Rick Pitino's Gophers right now. They're giving Minnesota sports fans hope.
Yeah.
It's not coming in many other directions.
I assume you must have looked at the Minneapolis paper today and you saw Royce's article.
Yeah.
He had a decent fall where I would say that I would go back and read his stuff. But after today's article, I'm done with Patrick Royce. I should have stayed away. He went purely negative. This was purely a we need to sell paper type driven article to get the tongues wagging. I understand that sometimes that's what a writer has to do. But when you look at the Gophers football team and what they lost from last year,
Yeah,
you had
no,
to expect that
I
there was
think
going to be a
well,
drop.
the way I read that was coming in to this year, or at least before the pandemic happened, we saw great things for this Gopher team, and it's nobody's fault that it fell apart. And I'm still with PJ. I'll row the boat. Everything that's going on, I think it's a good deal.
Okay, so who had the bigger collapse, LSU or Minnesota?
Oh, LSU.
Okay, so why are we panicking then? If LSU can go from national champion to 500 to utter disgrace, they had to sit out a year before they banned themselves for a year. Why are as Minnesota Gopher fans all of a sudden we have one great year and all of a sudden we're like, well, we got to be 11-2 every year, and if we don't go here and here and here, see, I don't buy that. And then
I think the Gophers were a better team than their record indicated. And so
he's ticked off because they lost to Wisconsin in overtime on the road. I'm like, what are you, nuts?
Yeah,
why are you upset about that? I still can't figure that out.
Well, on top of that, they still have off that team one of the top shelf receivers that's going in the draft. They have a quarterback that's going to go in the draft. They have a running back that, if not leading the nation, is real close to the top of it in an All-American.
Oh, yeah.
Coming back. Well, so, I see nothing the matter with that if they pick up a couple of linemen, and besides, Russi, he gets more cynical the older he gets. Me. So, but yeah, he's been doing that, and he will think he's telling it like it is when, a lot of other people aren't going to see that, because I think actually the Gophers have not got the proper respect either on the basketball court or on the football field that they've deserved the last couple of years. They've beaten an awful lot of people. And after beating Auburn last year, they don't have to prove anything to anybody. Nobody.
I agree. And then if you're going to go after the Vikings, when you look at who started last Friday on Christmas Day against New Orleans on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, what, out of the front seven, two starters maybe?
The Vikings were in the top three of offenses in the NFL. They were at the bottom three of defense in the NFL. So you know where the problem is. And we knew that going in after we got rid of the secondary. And it wasn't that they got rid of the secondary. They didn't perform well. Hold it.
Oh, you're you're good. I still got you.
I can't see you.
Uh-oh.
Let me see.
Yeah, so while you're figuring things out, the Vikings gave up a lot of points, and the Vikings did this and this and this bad, and there were still people out there who were complaining about Kirk Cousins and how badly he did, and I'm just like,
oh my!
What do you people want? What is it that you're looking for? You would complain, and I'd like to use a different word in complaining. If you were hung with a new rope, I don't know what. It drives me crazy, and of course, it's unfortunate the way Delvin Cook got out of this weekend's game, because I was going to come onto this show and say Delvin should not play this weekend.
Delvin should not play this weekend.
But now he's not playing because his dad passed away unexpectedly.
Didn't know that.
And so a tough situation, but I'm glad that he's not going to be playing, because there's no reason for him to play.
There was absolutely no reason for him to be playing.
Matter of fact, if Kirk Cousins took a seat and they put Mannion in there for the week and just decided, hey, I'd be fine either way, because this game is meaningless. Matter of fact, it would be probably better if they lost, because they would probably improve their draft position. And that's probably more important right now than trying to get a win against the hopeless, hapless, what's the right word for the Detroit Motor City Kitties? They can't get out of their own way.
But they want that top draft pick too. So, it's
Well, yeah, we're not going to get that good, but I'd rather than drafting 14, if we could draft 10, that would be awesome. So,
well, here we've got the latest ranking here, and this is probably pretty close. The Chiefs, the Packers, the Bills.
I don't believe that. The Bills are not that good. Sorry.
I don't believe that either.
Nope.
But they've been playing well.
They've been playing well.
The Steelers, the Ravens, and the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Tom still seems
Playing well too.
to make things happen. Most of the playoff spots are settled, but boy, is the AFC going to be fun to watch this weekend on Sunday afternoon when all those teams are playing, and there's 10 and 5 teams searching for 4 playoff spots.
4 places.
It's a possibility that an 11-win team could miss the playoffs. If they all win, one of those 5 teams has to stay home. I believe it's Cleveland. And they got to stay home with 11-win season. Hoofda.
Well, here we got the Chiefs are 14-1. The Packs are 12-3. The Bills are 12-3. The Saints are 11-4. The Steelers are 12-3. The Ravens are 10-5, and the Bucks are 10-5. You're right.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be fun to watch, to witness, and let's go back to a little bit about the Vikings against the Saints. Did the Saints live up to their reputation as being, what's the right word that I can say on this show? Jerks?
Well, they don't like us very much.
Bad-mannered football team.
Yeah, they've always had that, and I don't know why. I mean, they were even like that when Brent Favre went down there for playing. Like,
they've had
and so and he's one of the boys. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but they won the game. They have, and they did it without Michael Thomas, which this is, Drew needs to have a guy that he can throw to.
Sure.
And if he has 1 or 2 of those, he's got enough running backs. The defense is playing pretty well, a lot better than the Vikings defense was, and so.
But they gave up 33 points to whatever it was to the Vikings. I mean,
I know
they cannot be happy, even though I think their defense, if I remember right from the start of the game, against the rush 4th, against the pass like 6th, and overall 5th, and they gave up 33 to the Vikings.
Well, maybe the Vikings have these hidden secrets. I mean, the first thing that they're calling for now is that the Vikings really have to draft a guard, and I think if you have any glasses on at all, you can see that that's a possibility. Not that Ezra didn't do a really fill-in job,
but you would agree now that we've got an excuse to go out and draft more defensive players. Mike Zimmer's baby. We've got big excuse after we gave up 52 points, the most that the Vikings have given up in a game since 1965 or something.
Ooh, that was bad. That was bad. And
but
and Henrik, it's not his fault for all of that. But the boys will be back. Barr will be back.
Hopefully, yes.
And Aaron will be back. And whoever fills that other spot, Wilson or whatever, they have some pretty good linebackers. But it's kind of like Barr and Henricks. They're 6'4", 6'5". They have good leaping ability. They're fine athletes back there. If you're 5'10", 5'11", you have that middle.
I can't wait to see Michael Pierce come and sit in the middle of that defensive line next year. Like I said, people, I don't think, they like to run their mouths and they don't think before they put their mouths in gear and see what's happening. You just sometimes there's not. I mean, you want these guys to be good players, but there's a reason why they're second string or why you had to sign them off of a practice squad from someplace else. Look at the Rams. Jared Goff broke his thumb. He's not going to be able to play this weekend in a game that they would like to win.
They really need.
And they had to sign Blake Bortles off of Denver's practice squad so that they've got enough quarterbacks for the weekend. I'm just like, wow. So if Blake Bortles gets put into the game, is he going to get thrown under the bus if things don't go real well? And that's the thing that I don't understand about Royce and these other guys.
Well, there was a.
You're talking about Nicky Hardy or Hardy, what? Hard to say. Who are these guys? Come on.
You
There's
really,
a reason why they're third stringers. There's a difference in talent level, and it's just the tackling was atrocious. But
the other day, let me see here. We're talking about, okay, Texas is playing, who the heck were they playing? Colorado.
oh, last night, yep, late.
Yeah, and so then Sam Erlinger goes down, and they bring up a backup quarterback, Casey Thompson. He hits 8 for 10 for 170 yards, but 4 touchdowns.
Colorado looked. I only watched about 4 minutes of that game, and I watched Colorado's defense, and I'm like, how were they 4-1?
I don't know. And
did they
no,
not play anybody in the
it was really
Pac-12?
kind of something. But here it was. He got 8 for 10 for 4 touchdowns. Well,
Yeah, not too shabby. That's a pretty good
Passing the ball.
completion percentage.
I think it is. Also, they have Spencer Sanders of Oklahoma State. They beat
They
squeaked.
beat Miami
I don't know what was
without
the
their
score,
star
37,
quarterback.
34? Huh?
without their star quarterback.
Without their star quarterback.
Yeah, who got hurt. So it'll be interesting to see where De'Aaron King ends up. How badly hurt is he? So
Yeah. See.
well, I mean, he left Houston and sat his year out, and now he's the star quarterback. And what will Miami do without him? It was interesting because they had convicts versus Catholics or Catholics versus convicts, the 30-30 on Sunday during the 2 early football games that were absolutely brutal. And my Uncle Paul said, you might as well turn on ABC. You might as well watch the 30 for 30. Good call. I enjoyed every second of it. And not because I'm Catholic and not because I don't like Miami. Wow, what I couldn't even believe the backstory. If you haven't watched this one, Catholics versus Convicts, folks, get out there and watch it because it's available on ESPN Plus. If you pay
What was this kind of a longest yard type thing?
Well, here's what happened back in 1988. Notre Dame played Miami in the middle of the season, and Miami had won the national championship the year before, and Jimmy Johnson had his dynasty going at Miami, and Notre Dame got absolutely thumped when Faust was the head coach there before Lou Holtz got there, and they ran up the score and made it like 58-7. And Jimmy Johnson basically said, some team came back on me we were up by 30 points and we lost to Maryland. He said we were never going to let that happen again. So that's why they ran it up on Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, I'm sure accepted that.
So Digger Phelps went down and beat their basketball team by 2 more points, beat them 54, 129-75 or some ungodly number. Just absolutely ran it up on them on the basketball floor. So they're talking about this. Well, to intertwine into the story, of course, the football story is enough all by itself, but there was a couple of basketball players that started selling T-shirts, bootleg T-shirts, and they kept avoiding trouble all through the story. Notre Dame would come and talk to them, and then they'd go outside this way. Well, the one guy was trying to walk onto the basketball team, was a pretty good high school basketball player, and wanted to walk on at Notre Dame just like Rudy did, okay? That was his dream. Except he was going to do it on the basketball team. So he bided his time, and he basically thought, okay, I'm going to quit selling T-shirts. I'm going to make the team as a senior. I've got a very good chance. He went there and tried out against 100 other guys, and he made the team. But in the interim, over the summer, he made a bad bet, and he was like $12,000 in the hole. So before this Miami Notre Dame game, he went and sold a bunch of T-shirts, and he made enough money to cover his debt.
His bet, yeah.
He made $36,000 on the T-shirt.
And he can't do that because he's a.
So he was on the team for 1 day, and then they called him in and said, "You're done." And so like I said, they interwove this into this football story. Oh my gosh, it was enthralling. When they got done, I'm like, come on, I need more. Come on, give me. There's got to be more.
There's got to be a book about this somewhere.
It was absolutely amazing. So I highly recommend Catholics versus Convicts, the 30 for 30 on ESPN. If you got an hour and a half in your life, it's 90 minutes well spent. So
well, I know a lot of Catholics. In fact, I know quite a few convicts. So this would be.
You've got both sides covered.
I got it. Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what. There's one other piece of news that I read about, and that's Devanlaw Smith has been named the College Player of the Year through Associated Press.
yeah,
I'll tell you what, Coach Saban going to miss this one.
yeah.
And on top of that, the number 2 man was Mac Jones, the quarterback. Now you see, this is where do you get this on one team, Tim? They're going to make so much money off this pro between the two of them. This is off the one team, and that's the difference between Division I and Division II, or the rest.
And does Trevor Lawrence win the Heisman Trophy, or do one of those two guys win the Heisman Trophy?
It's good. They're not figuring that Lawrence is going to do it. So but
you tell me why he doesn't. Without him, they lost in overtime to Notre Dame. With him, they beat Notre Dame by like 30 points. Now you tell me who is the most deserving player. To me, that is, well, after what Dabo Swinney did this week, they deserve to lose. They really do. He deserves to have it stuck up his backside for what he did.
No, refresh my memory.
Well, the coaches get to vote. There's a coaches poll.
Yeah.
And he voted Ohio State number 11.
Number 11.
Number 11. You want to know his reason
back.
why? He didn't vote anybody into the top 10 who didn't play at least 9 games. So if you didn't play at least 9 games, you couldn't make Dabo's top 10. And he said, I know that could be bulletin board material in the Ohio State locker room and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
yes.
And now they just announced that his offensive coordinator tested positive for COVID, so he's not going to be at the game on Friday.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, a team who I didn't think deserved, and then we're going to go back and cover this because this has been since then. I didn't feel like Ohio State was one of the top 4 teams. I felt Texas A&M should have gotten that spot. And maybe not. Well, and who knows about Notre Dame? We could argue. We could sit here and argue that for.
No. Jimbo Fisher's going to agree with you.
So to me, the scary part about this is Ohio State, who I don't think deserves to be in the Final Four after they squeaked by Northwestern, and Northwestern might be offended by me saying that, but a team that probably doesn't deserve to be in the Final Four could be playing for the national championship because Dabo gave Ohio State all the ammunition their kids ever needed. Hey, he doesn't think your guys are good enough to play in this game. Where they're going to come out flying so high that I don't know how you're going to contain them. So,
wouldn't you just be tickled pink if all of a sudden Notre Dame and Ohio State were pitched in for the national championship? That would cause a lot of commotion, especially further south. So
that would cause a lot of commotion in the.
Alabama could lose this game. They could lose these games.
Alabama could. I agree. Alabama had to. They only beat Florida. I say only beat Florida 52-46. So we know that they can move the ball. Obviously, the defense is not what it's been. I don't think Notre Dame is that good. They legitimately had every reason to drop to 5 as well. If they would have been out of the top 5 and they would have left Ohio State in, I watched a little bit of Texas A&M. I'm convinced they're one of the top 4 teams in the nation.
Oh, they got a very good team.
I'm a little worried about certain things going on there when they play their bowl game, and I got to look quick to make sure that because I wrote it down here, when they play North Carolina in the Orange Bowl next week sometime. I pity North Carolina because Notre Dame absolutely throttled them, and I think Texas A&M is going to do the same.
Yeah, they're going to do a number on North Carolina.
So anyway, having said all that, I don't think Notre Dame has much of a chance against Alabama. One thing that they do have, they just got their backsides kicked around by Clemson, and they've got something to prove. And so that might be the wake-up call that they need to make that game against Alabama in the Rose Bowl in Texas, which there's another
The
animal.
Rose Bowl in Arlington, Texas. I had to wash my glasses off on that one.
So I feel like that Alabama game is going to be about a 3-touchdown game. I'm going to go about 38-17, give or take a little bit. Alabama, I think, cruises comfortably, even though Notre Dame might come out with an edge. You got a prediction?
No, I think you're probably pretty much on course, except that, injuries happen throughout the course of the game. The thing of it is about Alabama, you lose Mac Jones. They find somebody out there.
They got another
on the
5-star
bench and they
quarterback
throw him
wing.
in. Yeah. They have them lined up, and I really have to respect Coach Saban's. He's an incredible coach. He's found himself a home. I'm sure Bill Belichick taught him an awful lot of things, but he's a very good football coach, and kids want to play football for him.
They want to go play for a national championship.
That's right.
So how about the other one? Do you give Ohio State a chance?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why, because, just because you say Dabo sometimes has a tendency to stick his foot in his mouth. And
I think this game is going to be closer. I still think Clemson pulls it out in the end, but Ohio State's going to come out and give them a thumping in the first half, make it really interesting, I think. And then we'll see how the kids react to the pressure. But Trevor Lawrence is just, despite what Dabo did, I don't see things changing there. Clemson and Alabama are the two premier programs again this year. I suspect that they will be there. I got to talk about Trey Sermon. 338 plus yards rushing in the Big Ten championship game.
Isn't that something?
He was possessed.
Yeah, he was.
For a guy who had 300 yards rushing in like 5 games.
No, I tried to look him up in his roster on the roster, and I couldn't see him. So so he come out of nowhere. But I'll tell you, one of the things that Ohio State has, they have some incredible breakaway speed on defense and on offense. So they have guys that can really plow. If they have an intact offensive line, and I'm not sure they don't, they can cause that Clemson defense some headaches.
Well, and I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but everybody's been trying to tell me Justin Fields is the next Lamar Jackson or whoever. I don't see that. He's not that. He's not an NFL ready quarterback. That's the one stumbling block that Ohio State has right now. They don't have a good enough quarterback to beat Clemson, I don't think.
Well, and I'm going to say this. I've had to reevaluate my enthusiasm for the triple option like the Army runs. They went through 6 quarterbacks this year.
Wow.
Why? Well, because they're carrying the ball and getting tackled. Yeah. They went through 5 fullbacks that one time or another could not play in the next game. It wouldn't have been for Jacoby Buchanan, they would have been in tough shape. So you really kind of have to find a balance, and I think that's what Dabo Swinney has done with Trevor Lawrence, and of course, he's got all those incredible physical talents. He moves well.
And my Uncle Paul wants to know, how did Clemson turn it around? How did Clemson all of a sudden become a football powerhouse? How does that happen? How does that work? Where does the change come? Is it money? What is it?
It didn't come. It didn't come automatically. It didn't come one step at a time. But Clemson has been improving their football program over the course of the last 20 years. And before they were also one of the also rans, and boy, the Clemson Auburn game was really something, and Georgia, all the rest of that. But were they on the top shelf? Nah, not so much. They are now. And and Swinney, I really like the guy. He has all the enthusiasm that you could possibly want into a coach. The game, he's working real hard. He makes more money than the governor of the state, and they're doing real well. So, hey, I am pulling for Ohio State because Dabo has, like I say, he gets a little too enthusiastic, and
Yeah, well, any of the 4 teams, I'm not really too crazy about seeing them win a national championship, but that is what we're set with. So let's talk about some of the other college bowl games. So you got Army versus West Virginia.
3:30 tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to have to. What's at 3:00? Minnesota plays basketball, so
I'm gonna have 2
or
TVs.
something. Pardon?
You're gonna have 2 TVs going.
No, but
You're gonna have your computer on one.
My computer on one and the other. In fact, I got 2 computers right here. I could do 2 computers and
See, like this, like when you got the darts going. Look at there's dancing Dimitri. He's getting
they
ready.
dance like that. Do you learn how to dance like that?
I could dance like that with a certain amount of liquid courage. Yes, I can do
Yeah,
that.
there you are.
So
we have
so Army was not
Army
going
in
to
West
get
Virginia.
Army was not going to get into a bowl game with a 9-2 record or whatever the heck they have.
No,
South Carolina, who was like 2-8, was going to get in.
that
There's
was the
something
deal.
wrong with the system.
Well, and they had originally been scheduled for a bowl, and then the bowl was
Bowl game got canceled. Yes.
yeah, and so and so I take a look at the games that have been canceled: the Bahama Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, the Celebration Bowl. Goes on and on and on and on and on. But
Hey, how about today? Wisconsin playing in the Duke Mayo Bowl. I thought, man, last night they had the Cheez-It Bowl, and today they had the Duke Mayo Bowl. Now we're talking.
I'm going to tell you, somewhere along the line, I'm going to see Duke mayonnaise somewhere, and I'm going to say, "Ha ha!"
I'm going to buy it.
Sucker.
Absolutely.
Yeah, first thing, because it looks pretty good.
Tonight's game might be the best of all the games this weekend.
Oklahoma and Florida.
Oklahoma and Florida could be an absolute dandy.
Yeah, I agree. And so who are you picking on that one?
Ooh. Wow. I'm going to go with Florida. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because they put 46 points up against Alabama in the SEC championship game. I'll go Florida, but this thing, the game starts at I think 7:15ish or whatever.
Yeah, they got a 7:15. Well, 6:15.
Oh, is it a 6:15 game?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was going to say if it starts at 7:15, you're probably going to want to not make plans to be in bed before 11, because this is going to be a 4-hour football game. Because this thing is going to be, the final score I'm going to go is going to be about 47-42.
Well, then I'm going to stay up.
It's going to be a track meet. There's going to be scoring, and everything else is going to be happening. So I'm hoping that it does, because maybe at 10 o'clock tonight, that's when we'll get to start watching some good stuff there.
Well, we got 4 games tomorrow. We got Tulsa and Mississippi in the Armed Forces Bowl. The Liberty Bowl has West Virginia and Army. The Arizona Bowl in Tucson has San Jose State and Ball State. San Jose State's got a pretty good football team.
They beat your boys from Boise.
Yeah, and Texas Bowl is Arkansas and Texas Christian. And on Friday, they have the Peach Bowl, which is Cincinnati and Georgia. I like Georgia. Georgia, good football.
Georgia playing in their home state against Cincinnati, who is looking for respect because they feel like they got kicked in the whatever because they're number 8 and nobody respects them. Georgia, very good football team. I agree with you, but this is a Georgia cannot win this football game type of thing. You might recall Western Michigan a couple of years ago. You might recall Boise State a few years ago, one in the Fiesta Bowl, one in the Cotton Bowl. This is what the Peach Bowl is going to be on Friday. That could be the best game on Friday. It starts at probably noon, I would guess, maybe 11 o'clock.
It's 11:30, and I'll tell you, and then that afternoon or at noon is Northwestern and Auburn. So there's
I think Northwestern should win that game.
I think
hands
they
down.
should too.
Hands down, they should win that game.
Too. Yes, Auburn.
And then Indiana and Ole Miss on Saturday. I got to see what Indiana's going to do. Are they going to lay an egg, or are they going to, So some good stuff.
There's some very good stuff.
So.
No, You know, I tell you, my butt's going to be sore and my eyes are going to be bloodshot before I'm done.
Okay, so we've got college basketball, college football. We talked NFL football. Hey, before we leave NFL football, I want to talk about. I want to go back 2 Sundays now. Okay, I want to go back to the Chicago Vikings game.
Ooh.
I want to go back to the second quarter, 4th and a yard from your own 32-yard line, trailing 17-7, and you decide to go for it.
Yes. Yeah, that was
Mike Zimmer. Okay, we agree. Tim said this 2 months ago after the Seattle debacle, and then the next week when he didn't kick the field goal when he should have kicked the field goal, and I said he should have been fired then. I'm a Mike Zimmer fan, but when you go for it on 4th and 1 in the second quarter from your own 32-yard line, sorry, I'm gonna make sure I get it right. He needs to be fired, and I'm going to stand by that statement. Mike Zimmer he's not making good decisions on the
that
football field.
that was really I mean, your analytics be damned. That was one of the worst decisions he's made. It was one of the worst decisions all season.
I can't live with those kind of decisions. You're not thinking rationally. You're not thinking wisely. You're not thinking about. If you were a general in a war, you're not thinking about winning the battle. You're thinking about winning this moment. You're not thinking about the big picture. That kind of stuff. And I don't anybody get me in trouble with a war analogy over a football game. But I'm saying that because that's what football was kind of based on, was strategy and war games and those kinds of things. And for a coach to make that horrible of an error for a guy who's been coaching for 35 years. I mean, Jim Wacker was nuts 30 years ago when he used to fake punt from his own 10-yard line. Just idiotic because he knew he couldn't win. That's what you're telling me is you can't win. And that's it's,
well, I heard a haunting voice. I heard a haunting voice from old Coach Malosky and another one from Stuart Nordquist, and those two rarely agreed on anything. But you
couldn't believe how fast the phone call came to my house from Mr. Nordquist when that happened. Oh my goodness!
Of course he did.
Unbelievable. I just don't get it. Okay,
yes.
Are we done with football and college basketball?
I just need one opinion of you.
I'm full of them today. Look out! This could get crazy.
This is Major League Baseball.
Oh yeah, let's.
Everything's really dull and quiet and all the rest of that, except for the San Diego Padres.
Woo!
They are
Did they stir it up, huh?
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Okay. So I've had a couple of days to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
They are mortgaging the future. San Diego Padres have been horrible for years and years and years. They've been bad. Okay. And so they've got a plethora of high draft picks and whatever else. And they said, you know what? We made a pretty good run last year. We can get over the top if we go out and get ourselves a couple pitchers. So what we'll do is we'll bring those 2 pitchers in, but we're going to get rid of all those good guys for 2021, maybe 2022. And it's almost like the Kansas City Royals. Remember what they did? They were horrible. And then in the mid-2010s there, 2013, 14, 15, they made a heck of a run, and they got a whole bunch of top talent. And then by 2017, that's going to be the San Diego Padres again. They are absolutely going to have nobody left in the farm system after what they just did over the last couple of days. And I applaud them. Hey, we're going to go get a World Series in 2021. And the Twins went out and signed a replacement for Trevor May. They got Hansel Robles from the Angels for $2 million. Now, what is that telling you about this guy? He's a bargain, and if his arm isn't shot, like most people think that his arm is shot because they saw what happened last year. What? Nickel and diming again. Let's see if we can
but is this not Moneyball? 2020. It goes on and on. I took a look at how much money they're saving from Darvish alone. It was $15.5 million or some ridiculous thing. It was
So how's San Diego? Well, like I said, of course they probably got no big contracts that they've got to worry about, so they can. Yeah, it's an interesting
I
ball
see
game.
them. I see them going after the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Good luck.
Well, I
luck.
understand that. Yeah.
Good luck, man.
If they can find a Mookie, they'll be all set. Maybe two.
Well, I think they might have a Mookie Betts in what's his face, Tatis, right? Is his name? They might have their Mookie Betts, but they needed two good starting pitchers. They got that.
They got those.
It could be fun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, Timberwolves off to a 2-0 start, but then they flew into Los Angeles and they got treated very rudely.
They got
by those jerks in California.
By everybody. I've been treated a lot better in LA than they.
Well, it didn't help that Big Cat in Okogie wasn't available last night against the Clippers, but man, the haves and the have-nots.
I'm going to tell you right now, if the year of the pandemic turned me into if not an NBA fan, at least an NBA observer. And
I like that. That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, and I know enough people. They say, "Oh, he's playing tonight," or "He's playing tonight," and there's some very, very good basketball players in that league.
It was interesting. I don't know. You know who Bruce Siskey is? He's the radio voice for the Bulldog hockey team. Yeah. I follow him on Twitter, and he compared Giannis to Kevin. To Kevin, oh my gosh.
McCain?
Kevin Garnett, excuse me.
Yep. Oh.
All I could think of was Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, and that Kevin couldn't do it by himself when he was here in Minnesota, and they brought in Spreewell and whoever else to try to get him or whatever, and it didn't work. And then Spreewell lost his mind and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I thought it was an interesting comparison that the Milwaukee Bucks could be the Minnesota Timberwolves 15 years later all over again. They've got a superstar. There's no doubt about it that Giannis is a superstar. But can he get the job done, or is he just not going to get it ever done in Milwaukee? So interesting.
Well, you know, and I'll tell you what, you saw Michael Jordan couldn't do it by himself. You know, you got King James himself can't do it by himself.
Well, and that's here we go back to the Royce thing, because Royce was Kevin Love's not good enough. Blah, blah, blah is good enough.
I thought Kevin Love was a great.
Well, none of them are good enough to do it by themselves.
No,
Steph Curry might be the greatest shooter in the world. He had to bring in Kevin Durant and Draymond Green and who am I missing? Iguodala. I mean,
yes.
Oh my goodness, to win a championship. Yeah. It's just not a one guy thing.
No.
And
you know, and when you take a look at probably right now the best NFL team is the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at from end to end on both defense and offense, the talent they have on that bunch. And that's not including the talent that's on the sidelines. Okay. So there's, I mean, you got Harry Potter stirring the pot. There's no two ways about that, but you've got some incredible offensive linemen, and you got some nice running backs, and you got outside receivers that nobody can catch.
Yeah.
With a 10-yard head start, you can't catch them. That's a very good football team.
Did you observe that the Clippers only after they beat our Timberwolves last night?
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, they were playing the Dallas Mavericks. Yes. They only had 27 points at halftime. Halftime. 27 in an NBA game at half. Come on. They were down 77-27.
How many did Michigan State have against the Gophers at half?
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I remember correctly, I think it was 23. No, it was less than.
It was 14 or 13 or 14.
16. It was 16. Okay, so let's compare that. They had 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The Clippers have 24 minutes, and the Clippers supposedly
are a professional.
Teamers out of the basketball. Set a record for futility. So. Just
do you see the fact that the NBA has just, within a couple of months ceased their last season? Is there time for them to, physically rebound from this and start a season this quick?
The Lakers have started 2-2.
Yeah.
And of course, they played some, minus the Timberwolves. They played the Clippers, and I don't remember who else. So my thought process on this is those teams that played into October,
Uh-huh.
LA, Miami, they're going to have a tough go of it this year because they didn't have that time to relax and get refreshed and whatever else. And even if they do start very well, things are going to get way interesting when we get into April because the bodies are going to start breaking down. The bodies aren't going to be able to do what they want them to do. And then they're going to have to jump into the playoffs and do this all over again. I know both LA teams are loaded. I would be shocked if the Lakers can do this again just because of how late they played and how short they had to come back and do it all over again. I have my doubts that they can do it. And frankly, I
Okay.
hope that they don't, but it's not going to be easy to do. So
I just watched them doing it, and they expel so much energy on that big court. And those guys are huge. I mean, there's if you're 6'6" in that league, you're a midget. It's it's a tough league to play in.
let's see. What else have I got here? Oh, well, we got World Junior Hockey going on. Have you been watching?
Yes.
The poor United States came out, played Russia the first game. Probably haven't practiced enough together. They got beat, which might have been a good thing for them. Woke
So what
them
was
up,
the score on that one?
lost 5-3, and there was an empty netter, but they were down 4-1. They had to pull their starting goalie, who's back from last year's team. And then they played Austria with Marco Rossi, the Wild's first-round pick from this last year. He hardly got to touch the puck. The United States was all over him. It looked like planes diving at these. They were all over him, and outshot him 73-10.
Oh my Lord!
Beat them 11-0, I think it ended up, and then they beat Czech Republic yesterday, and now tomorrow they play Sweden. They're already into the medal round, but a win against Sweden would probably assure them the #1 seed. Not a lot of Minnesota kids on this team, which
East Coast kids.
irks me. They've got 4 California kids.
Well, that's a hockey hotspot.
That's a hockey hotspot, right? So, but a nice win yesterday. Matter of fact, 7-0 over the Czech Republic, who had
Not bad.
beaten either Sweden or Russia. I can't remember earlier in the tournament. So, looking good. Of course, the tournament really gets started once the medal round starts, and I think that starts on Saturday or Sunday. So,
So is it basically the same thing? The Swedes, the Finns, the Canadians, and the Russians?
and the American? Yep, that's pretty
Americans.
much it. The haves and the have-nots. Canada has supposedly got maybe the best team they've ever had. Matter of fact,
Wow.
somebody said on Twitter, how many NHL teams could they beat? And I wanted to tell them 0, because that's men and boys. That's a different.
Yeah, it is.
You can look really good playing against other 19 and 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
When you got to go and play out against a 26, 28-year-old man, you're going to get your stuff handed to you. So
I remember
that's
the old.
not going to happen, but good stuff.
It is good stuff. I agree.
Well, of course, I have to mention the dart tournament.
Yes.
Yes, I'm watching while we're recording. This is going on in London, England. The play starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, usually runs for about 3-4 hours. Then it comes back on at noon, runs for about.
Do
3
those
to 4
guys
hours.
drink? Do those guys drink pints of that big dark beer before they do this?
I have not seen anybody drinking a pint on stage, but I told you before we started recording the show, there has been some absolute incredible stuff. I mean, and I know people are saying, Tim, it's darts. It's
Oh
darts.
no.
They actually had, I told you about the match yesterday where the #1 player in the world got behind 3-1, and he came back and he was making throws, outs that you just shouldn't happen. And the announcers
He's in his zone.
the announcers got to the end and just said, if you turn this on and you could turn the channel and not keep watching it, what would make you want to stay and watch something? It has ups and downs. It looks easy, just like golf looks easy on TV. Tennis looks easy on TV. You just don't realize the talent that it takes to do to do what they're doing. And so I splurge this time of the year and watch the World Championships. And to me, it's enjoyable. I know a lot of people don't get into it, mainly because the Americans don't have a big player, big time player. But I think they've got one coming up. His name is Danny Bagish. He's from Florida.
Where's he from?
He's from
Yeah?
Whitehaven, I think he said, Florida.
Okay.
And he played really well for the first couple of rounds, and then lost.
Are there
lost
Yankees that
yesterday.
go over there, or, as they would say? Do the Yanks go and play with those guys?
They can't play at that level with those guys. The number one player in the world is from the Netherlands,
Yeah.
and there's a couple other guys from the Netherlands. They got a guy from Germany who's been playing really well. They've had huge TV crowds in Germany watching this. Nothing, I'm sure, like soccer or anything like that, but like I said, it's been fun. They'll crown the world champion on Sunday. So instead of watching football on Sunday, which I won't watch,
There's not much football on Sunday.
the early games, no big deal. That's when the darts will be on. That's what Tim will be. He'll be getting ready to go back to school on Monday and watching darts. So that's a good thing for me. So.
Well, speaking of going back to school, I heard they named some football coaches, football captains for next year.
Yeah, who did you hear? Because I didn't hear.
Oh, I think Sue read it over the phone. Oh, I thought maybe that you would.
I have to admit, I was invited. They had their banquet virtually over Zoom.
Uh-huh.
I was invited. Unfortunately, I was a little bit busy trying to get stuff done, and by the time I finally got everything done for that day, it was already like past 8 o'clock, and so I'd missed out. But I'm going to assume that Gavin Lovelace was one of them.
Hey, good guess.
I'm going to assume that Ben Glowacz was one of them.
You got that one.
I'm assuming there's 4. Let me see. Who else would be on that list, short list? I'm thinking. I'm going through, and I want to sound right. I don't know. You got the other 2?
Diego
Christensen, absolutely.
And Ryan Skifstead is.
See, I thought about it. I wonder if they were going to pick
Yeah.
the young lad who.
And they're all 3 seniors and a junior. And
junior.
you know,
it sounds right to me.
Hey, 4 solid captains. I mean,
Yeah, good kids.
I like those.
Very good kids. Absolutely. So.
Oh, it was nice for me to bring some Falls High news, and you didn't have them.
Strange for me to have that happen. I agree.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to get high school sports back.
Yes.
Practice starts next Monday on the 4th. The thing is, they're going to have this on. While they're practicing.
How is that actually going to work?
They talked about this, that some of the college volleyball teams were wearing masks.
Yeah.
We talked about that some of the volleyball teams in the cities were wearing masks this fall, and they said some of the kids, and I'm only talking about a couple, have said once you start wearing it and you start running around with it and you get used to it, you forget about it. So it's just like when you put your football helmet on that first day of practice or 2 days of practice, you're like, oh my gosh, my head is so heavy, I can't hardly whatever. And you've got the mouth guard in, and you're like, God, I can't stand this mouth guard. It's gagging me, and I can't run. And then 3 weeks later, you don't realize that the mouth guard or the helmet are even there anymore.
The only complaints that I heard was it gets really, really moist in there.
All right, let's get rid of that one. Here comes the next one. I got a nice dry one right here. Oh,
there you go.
Next quarter. Okay, next period. Here we go. I got another.
I was wondering how they were going to do it for wrestling, but apparently they don't have to have it for wrestling.
Yeah, I understand why not in wrestling. And I know a lot of people are panicking about, it's not going to stay up. Well, you know what? Mouth guards don't stay in all the time. Okay.
No.
A kid is walking down the side of the basketball floor and there's nobody around him. He pulls his mask down so he or she gets some air. I don't see a problem with that. These people just have to have something to complain about. Wisconsin's been doing it since the start of the season, and I haven't heard about any Wisconsin kid passing out or whatever else. So it's just like everything else. Hey, remember when you used to play football? You used to be able to hit a guy right in the side of the helmet.
Oh, I'm still deaf in that one ear.
And
Neil Ashton.
it was considered normal. Hey, if you didn't do it, that was they outlawed it. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? A couple of years ago, I still complain about this one. You can't grab a guy by the shirt back here, and you
Oh, I
can't
got
yank
most
him.
of my tackles that way.
You can't yank him to the ground that way. Guess what? The guy's adapted. Okay. Oh, you got to have a mouth guard in. You know, when I played football, yeah, you were supposed to have a mouth guard in, but some people didn't, and that was dumb. But they didn't, and then they made you do it, and it was a penalty, and people freaked out, and the kids adapted. And
No,
then
what the kids did to adapt is if you lost your mouth guard, you take some white tape and you twist it and twist it and twist it nice and firm, stick that up there. They wouldn't notice the difference.
So,
So,
like I said, to me, it's just, you know, it's all these people who just have to have something to complain about. And it's just like, quit complaining. Just let the kids go out there and do what they do. They've adapted, they've overcame, they'll do it again. It's just what people do. And so they just, I'm sorry, people, you have to find whatever. Yeah, you just squeaky wheel gets the grease and blah, 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 blah. Okay, let the kids go play. Let them go play with their masks on. Even somebody on Twitter today said, if you would have given the kids the option last March in the middle of the state tournament when they
Yeah.
shut down the girls' tournament, and you'd have said, hey, in order to be able to play for a state championship, you're going to have to wear this. All 24 of those ladies in
they
four
had
games,
climbed all over that.
they had climbed all over and said, yep, I got a chance to go play for a state tournament. I'll wear that. So don't tell me that kids can't do it and that it's unfair and that it's all this other stuff, because it's not. It's not. It's what the situation we're in, and we'll have something else come up in 3 or 4 years, and the kids will have to wear, you couldn't wear certain things out on the basketball floor. Your warm-up shirts can only say certain things on them. Oh, you're stifling their creativity. No, we're trying to stop fights at games. We don't need these kind of things going on. So you just let the kids go play the game. Okay.
Yeah, the kid.
It just doesn't have to be this way.
And in fact, there's an organization called Let the Kids Play.
Yeah.
And a lady down at Rocori, and she's got a whole bunch of kids, and she's just a woman, and she's advocating very hard for letting the kids go. In terms of that stuff, the only concern that I have, because the kids will probably be fine, are the coaches. And so I just don't want for them to have a laissez-faire attitude about the safety of this thing, because
I think you're going to have varying degrees with every coach, because there's going to be coaches out there that believe masks are a good thing, and you're going to have coaches out there that are going to think that masks are a horrible thing. And so you're going to see the kids' attitudes are going to come from the coach's attitude towards it. And if the coaches go into it with, oh, I'm sorry, this is horrible, and you're going to have to whatever, then that's how the kids are going to treat it. And if the coach goes in and says, you know what, boys, girls, we're going to put these on, and I'm going to take a dig at hockey players, because hockey players don't like to put their mouth guards in. And I don't know if I've ever seen a penalty called on a hockey player for not having their mouth guard in. So I'm going to be really interested to see if there's going to be a penalty for not wearing your mask in a hockey game, or a foul called, a technical foul in a basketball game. Where is the line going to be drawn? Because I don't see hockey officials, referees telling hockey players to put their mask back on when they're on the ice. I don't see it happening. They don't tell them to put their mouthpieces in, so I'm very leery that they'll tell them to put their mask back on. So I am very curious just to see what's going to happen. And I'm going to get to watch my share of Bronco hockey games this year, and so I'm going to be interested to see where that all goes.
So you're calling the games with Bolstead then? That'd be a good deal.
That is the
plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. That as of January 15th, I think that's the first Bronco home hockey game, or the 16th. I can't remember which one it is, a Friday or Saturday, which one it is. I will be back on the radio calling games, and of course those games will be on KCC TV and also on oh my goodness, I'm going to have to learn it because I can't think of it right now. What is it? Your your sports TV or whatever, .tv or whatever it is for the radio station. I can't think of their video feed. And of course on YouTube through KCC. So there's going to be all kinds of options. But as of right now, yeah, I'll be, we'll see if Tim can fit that back into the schedule.
Yeah.
I informed my wife about that we're getting close, that whatever. And she just, you got to take care of you, Tim.
You'd think she was used to you by now, wouldn't you?
Yeah. She said, you got to take care of you. And I'm like, well, it's not all that way, honey. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be that way, but.
Well, that's true.
We got to take care of each other. We've learned that in 2020.
You got a good woman that helps you reach your full potential.
Yeah. And of course, Tim's got to learn to take it easy here a little bit too. So.
Yes, he does.
So we'll hopefully that doesn't get too crazy and we get back to normal.
Normal. There you go.
And everything, not just in my life, and all rounds, all kinds of things. So, but
what else we got going?
I'm looking at my sheet of paper. Oh, NHL starts January 13th. That's a Wednesday.
They do.
And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on this show that it looked like the Wild were going to be playing out east. I hope I'm pointing them the right way on the screen. This is Anyway, to the east, that they might be in with Tampa and play a lot of 6:30 games. And I was excited.
That'd be nice.
No, they changed their minds. They put them out west. So now they're with St. Louis, the Wild, and basically the 6 teams from out west.
The Kraken.
So we are going to be playing a ton of 9:30.
Oh.
So, Tim's not going to be able to stay up and watch those. And so
you got to work.
I'm not expecting a lot from the Wild this year. Matter of fact, I'd be okay if they were just a competitive team. I'd be fine if they didn't make the playoffs. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear people say that, but I'd be okay if they just got competitive and learn to play some hockey, get another good draft pick, and see what happens. But a lot of people want to see them win now, and I get that. So, but do we got to do obits?
We do.
We do.
And we have to cover a little bit, and we have to, I know that's a long sigh, but the thing of it is that we lost Sid Hartman, we lost Chris Dolman, we lost Tavares Jackson, we lost Milt Sunday, we lost Dick Garmaker, we lost Bud Chapman, Lute Olson, Ron Peranowski, our good friend Bob McDonald, Matt Blair, John Hackinson, Jimmy Robinson, and just recently Tom Hanneman.
Yeah, I think the ones you talked about were the ones from 2020. Hanneman was just in the last 10 days or so, and I think that was probably the biggest shock of any of them. And the worst part about it is, and I don't know if it's just me or my curiosity, whatever. I'd like to know why. When somebody
that never
dies,
did come across, did it?
No, they kept it private. He was only 68. To me, that for a guy who was so big into sports, for Minnesota people, you'd like to know why somebody went as early as he did. 50 years ago, you wouldn't have even questioned somebody passing away at 68. No. Nowadays, we do, and so I guess I need to understand and respect the privacy of the situation, and they have that right. But when you're a public figure, most people seem to want to know, and I'd like to know, and I'm sure it'll come out someday. He was a good guy. I really enjoyed.
He was, and he could adapt. I mean, he could call anything, Tim.
Yeah. I liked him. I really liked him doing Timberwolves games.
And that's kind of where he. Now, nationwide, I just got to run through a few because you cannot not mention Kobe Bryant, Don Larson, the perfect man, Willie Wood. I'm just going down the list here. Bobby Mitchell, Willie Davis, Don Shula, Phyllis George.
Yeah.
Phyllis George was great. I like
she was.
George. And she's one of the first women that was ever doing in the sports thing. Wes Unseld, I was surprised that Wes was 74. That's only 2 years older than me. He always seemed older than that.
Yeah.
Unseld was really a fine athlete. Pete Ratzloff, Johnny Thompson. We've got, I'm reading off the list, Tom Seaver, and this is where we got 6 Hall of Famers. Okay, we got Tom Seaver, Lou Brock, and Bob Gibson. Tossed in Gail Sayers, Whitey Ford, Joe Morgan, Herb Adderley, Tommy Heinsohn. We've got Paul Horning, Rayford Johnson, Dick Allen, Casey Jones.
Yeah, that's new since the last. Yeah.
And just the other day, Phil Niekro. I remember watching Phil Niekro. You knew his pitching because the catcher would come out with this 2-foot wide catcher's mitt, right?
Yeah.
That's for
Yeah,
catching
twice the size of a normal, probably.
Yeah, it was just like, you're going down there and then he would give that low, slow thing, and that ball would stop and jerk and go. Yeah, it was just, and then go in there and a guy would just hit it, and and he did that until he was an old man. I heard that his father, who was a minor league pitcher and pitching coach, taught him when he was really, really young. And it was the only pitch he ever threw. And he was the last of the real, other people have tried to adapt it, but he came in as a knuckleballer, and there were a few of them around at the time. I'll never forget Phil Niekro. Those guys would try to figure out what he was going to do, and they didn't have a clue.
Yeah, totally different ball game on that. So, man, that's quite a list that you put off there. We think about 2020 being such a bad year overall, and whatever else. I hazard to guess that 2019 and 2018 had a similar number of sports deaths.
Not the Hall of Fame ball players. They just clipped right off, and I'm talking Bob Gibson. See, I really did consider him being immortal, and because that's the way he would want it. But even Bob Gibson is not immortal. None of us are.
Right.
I really do. I mean, it's nice to be living in a world in which those people existed, and so I really do appreciate them. It's.
I got to add 2 more to the list if I can.
Yeah.
Kevin Green.
Kevin Green, yes.
58
years old.
And you kind of suspect, well, I suspect a lot of things with Kevin Green could have been the reason for his death. Obviously concussions and everything that's going on there. But I always suspected that Kevin Green was one of the guys that was on steroids. And I don't want to condemn the dead, but that's what I thought of Kevin Green, because he was kind of a smallish guy and he had this freakish strength. And I know there's people out there like that. And like I said, I'm not here to bash Kevin Green, because Kevin Green did some outstanding things, but he seemed to do it too well, if I can say it that way. And
that's an
so
awful young age.
I have my suspicions. So obviously that could have had a lot to do with it. And then Ty Jordan, the running back from Utah, who accidentally shot himself on Christmas Day.
19 years old.
19 years old. Pac-12 freshman or offensive rookie of the year. The talent that this kid had, and after his mother just passed away from cancer, I don't know. How do you explain? You can't. It just
you can't. That's why. That's why you continue to be a man of faith, because you can't use explanation.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't seem to. Like I said, there's tragedies all around. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, it just seemed to be a very tough year for everything that's going on.
It was a tough year, but Tim, you're an optimist. You have to. You got too many kids. But this year, 2021, is bound. I mean, I will bet my last paycheck, if I had one, that this year is going to be better. I can feel it better. These vaccines are going to come on. I'm going to be able to get out of the house more often. Who knows?
Do you think Vegas has a line on this?
You bet they do. They have a line and everything else. So
It's interesting. You
I
know,
think good things will happen, but we
I-
have to be cool.
I thought about this at the end of every year. You know, you start thinking about things, and we've all talked about how bad 2020 was, and I can list off a list of, for me, of bad things. But 2020 will be a pretty special year, and I thought about my grandsons the other day, and I thought, you know, they were born, both of them were born in 2020, and they're going to be forever linked to this horse crap year,
Yeah.
whatever, that was the year that they were born, and they persevered and survived and came to and whatever else. And I thought about those two buggers the other day, and I'm like, we didn't get to see enough of them this year. We
Yeah,
didn't get
you
to buddy
will.
up enough.
I agree.
And really get to know them. So, but I thought about those two boys and all the other kids that were born in 2020, and they're going to be so much bad stuff linked to those kids. And of course, I guess I think about my uncle. He was born in 1919, you know, and that was the year after the Spanish flu and the fires here in Minnesota and everything else. And I guess I've never maybe thought about that he was linked to it that way, but in somehow, some way, 2020 is going to be at the foremost of the entire nation's world
For a long
for a
time.
long time. And so
Long time.
I wonder how those kids will be looked upon in the future, you know, when they get to be 20 years old. Hey, you guys were born in 2020. You guys, man, whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But
When I go into the history classes, I'd say, I'm old. I was born in 1948, and you should see the kids.
yeah, that's for sure.
They don't
So,
appreciate what age is. But we will be soon doing our shows face to face, and you'll be chuckling in and getting your games in, and you know, things are going to go back to normal. It's going to take a while, but
yeah,
maybe you're going to go down to St. Paul and watch some baseball games this summer. So
geez, I hope. We were just talking the other day about what we're going to do this summer, and my wife said, well, one of her high school girlfriends wants to go on a trip with just the two of them, and I'm like, great. I said, the same time that we plan our trip, the baseball trip, you take off. We'll go in separate directions, and everybody will be happy. We'll come back and we'll be like, hey, we had a great time. Hey, I had a great time. And
everybody will be happy. I love that.
Everybody will be happy. Hopefully, at least that's what we hope
Yeah.
for. So anyway,
Well, I'll tell you what. You know, tomorrow is the 31st. There's football games on. I've got a date with a real pretty girl, and so we're gonna drink champagne. We are going to we're gonna kick this New Year's off a little bit right. I'm not driving and I can't go anywhere.
yeah,
So
there you
we're
go.
gonna drink champagne and dance all night.
That sounds like a great plan to me.
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope everybody's 2021 is going to be a good one. Happy New Year to everybody who watches us. Again,
And there's a lot of them out there. And keep that face mask on. So
and one more thing, I got to remind everyone. We started a new program last night. Stuart and I recorded our first Bronco Classic boys basketball game last night. We went all the way back to 1990, and we got to watch a Dandy against Hibbing. So I don't know how quickly Darcy's going to get it up, but before we even get this show up onto the YouTube and on KCC TV, we might be able to watch that first Bronco Classic. So we had so much fun doing the football, and people loved it so much. So many positive comments out there that we decided to do a little basketball. So we'll see how that goes. So be looking for that on YouTube.
Happy New Year there, buddy.
Hey, same to you, George. Have a good one.
Okay.
We'll talk to you real soon.
Okay, take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.